Good evening, everyone. It is so great to have you here on our webinar. Today's webinar, From Kitchen to Shelf, is Finding Your Target Audience. So who is this webinar for? Well, our target audience is those who are in the food, beverage, or small goods businesses or want to be. And for those who want to find out more about finding your target audience. So really, this is one of our webinars that actually could be pretty much for anyone. But hey, our target audience is really those that are starting small, as we call them, consumer packaged goods programs. So we're here to talk to you today about the audience. It's going to be mostly, you're used to hearing Steve and I both speak. Today, it's mostly going to be me. So we're going to dig in and get started. So who we are. I'm Deborah Armstrong. Steve calls me the ETC, educator, trainer, coach. I've had 10 years plus as a business educator. I'm certified with the International Coaching Federation. I am an SBDC advisor in Northern California, training manager of the Entrepreneurship Center in the Bay Area, former, and I've worked with really over 100 entrepreneurs who have launched their businesses and gotten started. And who is G. Stephen Clear, my partner in life and in business? Well, he has over 30 years helping brands succeed in retail. He's the founder and managing director of Trade Marketing Inc. for over 20 years, and that was a San Francisco-based retail marketing agency. He worked with huge national brands like Nestle, Hostess, Good Earth, Tetley Tea, Cliff Bars, Dryer, Clorox. One time we tried to figure it out. There's just a lot of them that he's worked with in his 20-plus year or actually really 30-plus year retail experience. He's also started working with startup brands. So he worked with a company called Make a Stand, Brew Broth, Hip Chick Farms, Sprouted Minds, and Two Chicks Jerky, and quite a few other ones. And he actually is a certified Northern California SBDC advisor, still working there, even though we're now in Idaho with some of those CPG companies that are getting up and going and started. So we're going to talk today about finding your target audience. It's probably one of the most important things that you're going to do in your business. It's one of those ideas that are easy to kind of talk about and think about, but really hard to really wrap yourself around. So it's one of those kind of ideas. You look at it, it sounds easy, but it's much harder than it is. So we're going to talk about that today. But why does it matter? So why do we keep making this big thing about your target audience? Well, one of the things is unlimited resources, right? We all have them, right? You have unlimited resources, right? Not most of us do not have unlimited resources that we can throw at our marketing or at our production or what we're doing. So understanding your audience allows you to focus. And that's what we want to do today, is to focus and learn how to pick out those people that are going to be your most likely client and really target them. So if you're selling cookies, your target audience isn't anybody that loves cookies. That's too big and too broad. You want to narrow it down. Hey Nushin, I see you're on today. Nice to have you here. So what is your target audience? It's the most likely person to purchase your product. Now, that doesn't mean everyone that buys your product is your target audience. There will be people that buy your product that aren't. They might be buying it for someone else, so they might be buying it for the end user that could be your target audience. It just could be that they're not in there and they like the product. So I have a minivan and I'm child-free, and I am not that target audience. In fact, my minivan has like a CD player to entertain the kids in the back. But for me, it worked because it allowed me to, at the time, to move my mother-in-law around, to transport different things, and I'd been used to a van and something big and high. And so I looked at it, and that's what I ended up buying. But I wasn't the target audience, right? I wouldn't have put a CD or DVD player in the back of the van. I think it's been played like 3 times when I've been carrying my nieces around. So again, it doesn't mean anyone who buys your product is your target audience. For the minivan, it is really, they're going for that kind of soccer mom type of person that has kids that they're hauling around, hauling stuff around. I'm not that, but I still bought the van. But they're not going to focus their marketing, they're not going to focus their energies on trying to sell to someone like me. If I walk into the dealership, yeah, they're happy to sell it. And there are times, by the way, where people try to make it exclusive enough that they want their target audience to be the only one that has it. So there are things that are exclusive and they keep it that. That's part of their branding when they go along. So what is your target audience? These are people that fit a certain set of criteria. And you might have more than one audience. So your audience, you don't want a big broad audience. So you would never want anything that's completely, just women, right? That would be huge. But in here, you might have something where somebody that is an older woman that has more time and a mom, right? They might have some of the same interests. Right now, baby boomers and some of those that are older are really interested in healthy eating, and they're looking more at, how can they kind of get their health back. I'm one of those. And then you have the ones that are moms that are looking at feeding their children and what they're doing on that. So it can be that you have more than one target audience. So don't think I have to narrow it down and just stick strictly to that one. You might have more than one target audience. But what you want to think about as you're going along is, when you're starting off, the more you can define your target audience, the more that you kind of keep it in a little center part, it doesn't mean it won't grow and expand, the better off you are going to be at focusing your resources, right? You only have a certain amount of time, a certain amount of energy. So if you can find that really niche that'll work for you, it'll be perfect for you. So sometimes it's easy to determine who your target audience is. Some simple examples are going to be baby car seats, right? Those are pretty easy. That's going to be moms that have babies. They're really going to focus, because now you can't leave a hospital without one. They're going to really focus on those that are pregnant. That's when they're going to focus. They're not going to focus even when they have a 2-3-year-old. They might then for the booster seats, for the baby seat. Pretty obvious who you're going to target. AARP magazine, which they call it now instead of Associative of Retired People or something around that. But it's a magazine that's really geared for people that are over 50. They might define it down a little bit more, but most of you, when you turn 50, you're going to get that card in the mail. $1 million homes, right? There's only a certain number of people that are going to buy $1 million homes. And by the way, that doesn't always mean that people that buy $1 million homes, that there aren't other people that can afford them, right? There are people that are in certain industries or certain target audiences that maybe having that $1 million home is not important to them. What's important to them is having a community or living around the people that they care about. So having $1 million home, you're going to have that target audience. They have to make a certain income level. And usually they're going to have a certain psychological, which we're going to talk about. So psychographics, they're going to have some psychographics there too that kind of relate back to buying that $1 million home. And then we'll talk about high-end skis, right? High-end skis, you're really going for that person that is the avid skier. And here, this is really about the psychographics, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But with the psychographics, what you care about on the psychographics, oops, I went back a little bit too far. Let's go back. With the psychographics and the high-end skis, what that means is that these are people that are really into skiing, right? That's who your target audience is, which means you're going to sell to high-end ski shops that are probably in some of the resort towns and the better resort towns. So you want to really look at where it is that you're selling. It doesn't mean when I say someone else might buy your skis, that's really true, right? You might have somebody that is extremely wealthy, and when they decide to go skiing for the first time, they only want the best equipment. So they're going to buy those high-end skis, but that's not your target audience. It's those people that are like skiing is almost their life. And it might be a hobby because they might do something else, but that is something that is really fundamental in their life. And you might have people, you think it's just people that have a lot of money, but a lot of times it might be somebody that really, they're almost like a ski bum kind of person, and they work at the resorts and they do that. And for them, they'll save up to buy those skis. That's really going to be your target audience on those. those people that are really totally into skiing, and you're going to focus, on those high-end shops, and you're going to be in Ski Magazine, and you're going to have celebrity endorsements of people that are, using your skis. It helps you focus on that. Some are a little bit more complex. So one right now that came up is Walmart store pickup service. So this is one of those things that, the Walmart demographic has always been, really that value shopper, the mom, middle America. Well, what's happened with the store pickup service is now they have people that they're going there because it's convenient. So Steve was with a woman the other day who is an attorney. Her husband's like an investment banker, but they have 2 small kids. And she was leaving Steve. She goes, "Oh yes, I'm going to Walmart to pick up my groceries." I open up the trunk, they put them in. And in fact, if they're out of something, they gave me the bigger one, more expensive one for the same price because they were out of what I was looking for. So here's not the person that's the normal, Target shopper for Walmart buying Walmart stuff. And actually they came out with some information that their demographics are changing because of that pickup service. And then there's Disneyland guests. Okay, we all know people that are Disneyland nuts. I know a few of them, love them all, but they're a very different target audience. They have somewhere, it's the kids, and it's about the kids and taking the kids someplace new and the new experience and all the Disney princesses and all of that experience there. And then there's the people that are older that are, have always been raised with Disney and continue to go. I have several friends that are that way. My aunt and uncle are total Disney nuts. So it's one of those areas where it's really much harder to define your audience, or they have a lot of them as they're going along. But what you want to think about on both of these are both really big companies, correct? So they have a lot of resources. So they can have really a lot of multiple target audiences out there and really meet all of those needs. So, but when we're starting, we just have really small resources. So that's what we want to think about as we're going forward. So when you're looking and talking with your target audience, you really want to think of what problem you're solving for them, right? So if you want to think about it for the Walmart shopper, the one that's going in, what problem they ended up solving is having 2 kids, not having a lot of time, not wanting to run into the store with your kids kind of grabbing everything and hauling them in and out. They were solving a problem of making shopping much more easy. So think about a problem that you're solving for your customer. And by the way, it doesn't have to be some really big, huge problem. It can be like if you're Josh the chocolate guy, you might be that it's that small indulgence that people can afford, right? So it's that bit of pleasure that you get at a semi-affordable price, right? Your chocolates might be more expensive because they're premium chocolates, but it's still not going to break the bank to buy that. So I want you to take a second and write down that problem that you're solving. And do you know it? If you don't know it, it's okay. So then we're going to talk about demographics. So demographics is one of the ways you're going to identify your audience. So demographics are age, income, where they live, how many people live in the house, are they married, unmarried, ethnicity, gender, religious identification, education, economics, and class. Those are some of them. There's probably a few more. Now, when you're identifying your market, you might not need all of these in terms of demographics, but sometimes you do. I've had people question me on religious identification. They're like, so why is religion so important? And it depends, right? It depends what you're selling and where you're selling. There's a famous story with McDonald's. And so Ray Kroc, so when they're first starting off, there was one of the franchisees that had a McDonald's in a primarily Catholic, I think it was in Chicago, primarily Catholic neighborhood. If you go back to the day on Fridays, if you were Catholic, you did not eat meat. I remember in elementary school on Fridays, we always had like a fish sandwich or something. So here he was in this area, and on Fridays, his business just totally died. So he's like, I have to come up with an alternative. And that's how they came up with the fish fillet. The Ray Kroc wanted to do the hula burger, which was a grilled pineapple on a bun. That didn't go over too well. And also when we look at economics in class, this isn't a barrier in saying, oh, this is upper class or lower class. But when you think about it, if you have two people that are making, in the trades, people make awesome money. Most of my family's in the trades, and they can make some really good money. So if you have someone that is in the trades and they're, say, a plumber, and they're making $100,000 a year, and you have an attorney that's making $100,000 a year, they're going to spend their money usually in separate areas. What's important to them is different. So for the one that is the attorney, it might be more about status and what their neighbors are doing, and status. Like, I want to drive a really nice car. And for the plumber, it might be having that boat. They're both very expensive things, but they're very different. So you want to identify who your audience is by demographics and the part that's important to you. It doesn't always, not everything is going to be important, but you want to go through and say, which of these are important for me at this point with my product? And then there's psychographics, and psychographics is really getting into the head, right? It's who is this person? What drives them? What's going to motivate them to buy? What motivates them in life? So for some people right now, it's the healthy eater, right? They're really concerned. Is it organic? Is it no GMO? So they have a really total healthy eater. Is it, I'm vegan? So there's that part. There's the people that are sports minded, where really it's about sports and activity. There's people that are, Steve, he loves to cook. So for him, he's one of those, if you want to sell him a kitchen gadget, trust me, you usually can. Gardeners, which I'm not, but luckily a lot of my friends are. So you've got to think about that person and what is important to them. Is it the great outdoors? Is it like when we go back to the, high-end skis? Is it skiing that's important to them? So you want to get into the head and what makes them really motivated to make a purchase. What's motivating them in what they're going to do and spend their time and energy on. Wine snob, that's me. So again, when you want to go through and do this, one of the best way to do this is to create a persona. And a persona is like the character of the person who's going to stand in for your target audience. And when you think about that persona and that person and the character, it's really important to kind of figure out, like, make them a person. So one of the ways you can do that, and we'll talk a little bit about research, but one of the ways you can do that is you can use one of your clients right now that is your customers. If it's one of your great customers, use them. Who are they? So you can use that, or you can kind of take a little bit from different customers that are there. But you want to make it a person. You want to give them a name. You want to make them as alive as you can. There's a story that I don't always know if I should share, but in one of my classes, I had a person that had worked with Nike, and he was at their big campus. And the woman's like, let me show you something. And she walked him around the back, and they had this room in the library part in the back. And it was set up just like a teenage kid's room, right? It had, baseball pictures on the wall, a twin bed, tennis shoes on the floor. So they had it set up as a teenage boy's room that was a sports kid, right? And a lot of times if they're making big decisions, they said they would go back in there and make those decisions because they wanted to make sure they stayed in the head of that teenager. So it's really important to kind of figure out who that person is, who that persona is. So how can you determine who your audience shopper is, right? So observation, like if you're at the farmer's market or you're selling at smaller markets, Who's buying your product? What are their ages? What's their gender? Are they have kids with them? What else have they purchased? What else is in their basket? Get an idea of that, right? And sometimes it can be what they're wearing. And when I say that, it's like if it's at a farmer's market or something and they're showing up and they have on biking clothes, they probably biked over. So are they like in clothing that says, oh, I have, this really high-end purse that really stands out? What do they have, in terms of what they're wearing that identifies too? So you want to look at that person and kind of start jotting down some notes. Where you sell, you can ask them. They know who their audience is. So like if you're distributing at a certain market, if in the Idaho area, if you're at the Boise Co-op, who is their market, right? Who's buying, who's their customer? The same thing if you're in the Rainbow Market in San Francisco, who's their audience? And sometimes you can get that information from them, and that's going to help you formulate who your audience is. Ask them, right? Have conversations with the people that are coming in. Ask them to do a survey. It doesn't have to be a really complicated survey. You can have something there. Would you mind answering a few questions for me? I'm really doing some research on who my customers are and finding out what's important to them. So you can ask them. So there's a couple different ways you can get that. And there's also ways that you can pay for information. And Steve's like not right here, right at this moment. So I'm winging this part a little bit. So these are what we call like way down the road, just so you know. So you can buy information. So there's IRI and Nielsen. And those are two where you can get information. They go in and they do tons of research. Nielsen is kind of like the Nielsen rating. So they go in and they get a lot of information. And a lot of times larger companies will buy this information. It's extremely expensive. And there's also spins, which is in the natural. So they take the natural category. So they take some of this information together, and as Steve always laughs because it's a horrible name for it, spins, because they're spinning the information, and they'll get information from that. So, and there's actually, by the way, several webinars and stuff. I don't know webinars, but YouTube, if you YouTube some of this, you might be able to find out some of that information too, especially on spins if you're looking at a certain market. They do have some stuff on there. And then brokerage firms. So when you start working with a brokerage firm, which we've talked about before, a lot of times they'll have this information. Of course, they're going to charge you extra for that information, but they normally have it. So when you kind of get down the road, you don't need to have this all down right now. It's just know that there's other places to get a little bit more detailed information when you need it. So how do you create a persona? Well, you create a persona by, like I said, creating a character. So what is their name? Get a picture. So what kind of represents them? What are their demographics? What are their psychographics? What's going to motivate them? What's important to them? What do they like to read? What do they like to listen to? Just get into their head, right? Who is this person that is your target audience? I'm going to give you an example, a persona sample, see? So this is Greg the Griller. I like Greg the Griller. He's a male. He's between 30 and 55. He has 2 kids. Religion here, not really relevant. He's married. He's Caucasian. Community college, trade school. He lives in the suburbs. And he's a skilled tradesman. He's just kind of like your electrician. It could be like my brother, honestly. Psychographics. They're into sports. Fox News, Comedy Central. Again, entertainment, sports, watching and playing sports. And on this one, he probably watches his kids play sports. Political leanings, moderate Republican. Concerns is building a good life with his family. Money, security, that's what's important to him. He shops at Walmart, Costco, and sports stores. Other traits, he takes pride in his killer steaks and love to have family and friends over to share a meal. Like for him, it's like, having that barbecue and having everyone say, oh my, man, you have the best steaks in the world. That makes his day, right? It's just having those people over. So for him, if you're selling like a grill mix, this is going to be your guy, right? This is like grilling Greg. He is a guy that buys my spices and has that steak that is absolutely wonderful. Or he could be the guy that has the barbecue. So if you were selling barbecues, he might be your guy too. It's like, okay, here's this guy that's gonna, he wants these killer steaks, so we need to make sure our grills have this, this, and this. What else? Psychographics on him. Hobbies, sports enthusiast, family first, local softball team, motivate family. If you notice here, it's family. Causes, not really. He's like, his wife might be into like organic or whatever. He's not really into causes. And lifestyles, works during the week to enjoy the weekend. A good beer and sports makes him happy. So, he's your average, working class guy. Like, again, I think when I was thinking of him, I was thinking a little bit of my brother. So when you're making the persona, you can have all those other parts, and a lot of times you want to kind of make a little story around them, like who this person is. This is a great thing to put into a business plan. You can have some of the other stuff, but you kind of summarize it. So here we have barbecue makers, obviously made up name. Ideal consumer is a middle-aged Caucasian family man who lives in the suburbs. He has some post-secondary education. He makes his living in the trades. He cares about his family and sports. He shops at Walmart, local chain supermarket. He watches Fox Sports channels. He takes pride in his grilling and loves to have friends and family over for his killer steaks. So that's Grilling Greg. So I want to know if you guys have any questions about anything. You can type it into the text in the chat box. I know most of you guys are usually kind of quiet on here, which is fine. Yeah, you might want to make up. So somebody asked to do personas if I have more than one target audience. Yes, you can do different, and sometimes they might be kind of close to the same target audience, but you can do different personas, right? So they might be at different parts. So with Grilling Greg, that might be your main one, but you might have someone else that is also kind of in that field, but maybe is you have two different products, and one of those products really is going for Grilling Greg. And another one might be for that person that has that high end, if it was a barbecue that really wants to have might be someone that really likes to put on high end barbecues and kind of show off his equipment. So you might have, different products. So you have different people on those different product lines. Didn't close my phone out there. And so, we're kitchen to shelf, and Steve's with Next Level Marketing. So how can we help? Just always like to throw this in. And so we have classes and coaching. So we're doing Launchpan in this summer, 2019, Playing with the Big Boys, September, master classes coming, Accelerator in 2019. And then we also have coaching packages. So startup and growth packages, which are coaching and on my side and really consulting on Steve's. On marketing consulting packages, our distribution plans, marketing review, new product launches, business planning. Those are just the ways we're there to help you. But really what it is about is helping you guys make your business successful, right? That's what we're here to do, is to support you as you're going out there and launching these amazing food products. And trust me, they're amazing. We've had some really great products. And Joshua Chocolate is awesome. Riceables is my favorite. I haven't had those for a while. So anyway, we're here to support you any way we can. So if you do have questions, you can email Steve at nextlevelmarketing.com or email me at deb@kitchentoshelf.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're really looking forward to having you in on some of our other podcasts or hearing from you another time. So thank you very much and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.